Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. This is Victoria Cherie Bennett, and I'm hanging with your boy Galaxy at Comic-Con Radio.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. This is Galaxy signing in for Comic-Con Radio. Coverage of pop culture events from around the globe. Amazing interviews with celebrities. Daily recaps and reviews of popular television. Movie reviews. Everything Comic-Con and fandom from around the globe. Comic-Con Radio. Get ready to enter our universe. Let's go.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. This is your boy Galaxy on another amazing episode of Comic-Con Radio. Today, we have a cool guest. She lives in New York, comes to all of our geek fandom conventions, and she loves it. We have Victoria Bennett on Comic-Con Radio. Victoria, what's up? Welcome.
What up, everyone? Thank you for having me.
So, you are a writer, an actress, a geek, a fandom lover. You're all of the above.
I'm many, many things. It depends on what type of day it is and all that stuff, but I do a lot.
You do a lot, and you sing as well.
Oh, wow. You found that on the internet, too.
Hey, you are very well-rounded, and it's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Are you originally from New York City, or how did this all...
So I'm not from New York, but I've lived in New York now for about 10 years, so I consider myself a New Yorker now. But I'm from Houston, Texas, originally.
That's why you're so nice and kind. I've heard that you're a very nice person, so duh. I'm from New York originally, so I'm not a nice person, so that's why I could...
Listen, I understand, though, being in New York for 10 years, I find New Yorkers to be quite lovely when they're not in tourist attraction areas.
Oh, that's funny. That's a good one, actually. Very good.
Yeah.
So what do you think makes them go crazy in tourist attraction areas?
Well, first off, tourists don't know how to walk properly. They stop in the middle of the street. And, you know, New Yorkers have a flow. We have to get somewhere. Time is precious to us. We're always on the go. We always have to make the next deal. We always have to make the next connection. We have to find time to eat and get to happy hour. And the tourists themselves, because they are new, and I don't necessarily blame them, but they're new and they don't really understand the grid, the map of New York. So they'll randomly just stop in the middle of the street and just run into a New Yorker, and then they get annoyed because it's like, you just interrupt my flow.
Yeah, you just stop their mindset just going on auto drive.
Yeah, exactly.
What are you doing, buddy?
Exactly.
So
or
when you
aimlessly wander.
So when you first went to New York, how was it for you?
Oh, God, it was great. Well, I went for school. I went to musical theater school. Speaking of my singing, I went to school for musical theater, and it was the same school that Jesse Tyler Ferguson from Modern Family went to. It was called the American Music and Dramatic Academy. So I was there as a student, and I was very happy that my campus was actually just New York. I lived in a regular building. I walked to another building that was my school classrooms, and then I walked, and then I shopped at the local cafes and the diners and all that stuff. So it wasn't like going to the Midwest college campuses. No, my campus was actual Manhattan. It was great.
That was a crazy experience, probably. It just put you right into New York lifestyle. And Manhattan is way different from the rest of New York. The five boroughs are so different. So if anyone is trying New York, go to Manhattan first. Experience that because it's such a different... Have you been to the other boroughs? Have you been to Long Island?
I've been to Long Island City, which is very different than it was even 2 years ago. It's really up and coming. I have an ex that lived in Astoria, and Astoria was very hip too. And then I've been to Williamsburg a couple of times, and it just depends on the MTA and my patience. Another New Yorker thing, my patience with the MTA. How long do I want to deal with train delays?
That's pretty funny. You're a funny person. So you do everything. You do plays, comedy, you write. Why such a well-rounded portfolio?
You know, it's funny. This is the reason why I bonded with Madeline. I met her just at San Diego Comic-Con, and we were at the IMDb boat because I podcast with Ming Chen and Mike Zapsik of Kevin Smith's Comic Book Men. And I was there actually with Den of Geek to just cover some sort of cosplay event, and she was there with Nicole Muniz, and I had done the panel for Van Helsing. And I was like, yo, who are you hanging out with? And she's like, oh, this is a female creator. I was like, hey, I'm a female creator too. And we bonded over Star Wars, and she told me about We Were Tomorrow. And I was like, cool, I have a show, a web series as well called ADULTish. And she's like, come to our party. And I was like, hey, I'm coming. And I think just going back to, I listened to the episode that you guys did with her, and going back to, female actors, we have to be creative. We have to be well-rounded, because there's not a lot of parts for us right now. And, when you go to school for acting, they don't teach you the business of it, the marketing aspect of it, and you kind of have to be an entrepreneur nowadays.
Oh, yeah, you have to be an entrepreneur. You have to promote yourself. You're basically a walking business. But here's the thing. Most people, they do one thing. They're either a show creator, or they act, or they write, but you're so well-rounded. You sing, you're in plays, you have your own web series, you work with Den of Geek, you go do panels. It's a very cool thing. I know it's very time-staking, and I know you don't do all of this for money, because we don't do this job for money. We do this because we love it, and hopefully one day, it pays off for a lot of people, and that's kind of like that mindset. Is it a goal that you have? Is there a goal that you're working towards?
Definitely think, being a showrunner and an actor and a singer is definitely up there of what I would like to do forever. But, I can't say I do enjoy podcasting, and it's a great way to network and build a community and just kind of keep a pulse on the vein of your target audience. I love Comic-Con crowds. I think they would always be my target audience for any sort of artistic endeavor I create. And you have to just be in the know with them. You have to be like Kevin Smith. And Kevin Smith is somebody that podcasts, he still writes, he directs, and he acts, but he maintains that sort of cycle in order to just keep a pulse with the community that he is trying to sell his art to.
Yeah, he has to keep that connection going, and having that well-rounded thing going on, I think, keeps him in the loop and keeps him fresh. And he also owns a comic book store, and he loves toys. So he's hitting every aspect of it. So you have a pretty cool formula. Is that an advice you want to give anybody up and coming to be well-rounded and try different things in order to, have a good foot into this universe?
Yeah, I definitely would suggest that. I mean, don't overwhelm yourself, for sure. I mean, I happen to be very passionate about all the things that I do. Working with Den of Geek is great. I get to see the other side of the PR, marketing, business side of things. I get to bond with people that way. I think, to kind of gather my thoughts here, with actors, and you go to acting school, I think the best thing you could do for yourself if you go to a conservatory or a college is to minor in production or minor in PR, because then you're just going to have, it actually helps your acting. It's helped me so much going behind the camera to just kind of see the overall picture of the story you're trying to create. It's not just about the part I'm playing, it's the overall message that the show itself has. And I wouldn't have known that had I not become a showrunner or a producer.
That's absolutely cool that you get to say these things and got to experience it. And you experience it with a show that you've created, a web series called ADULTish. And you're the creator, the showrunner, you're the everything of that. I call it the everything because a lot of people don't understand what the titles are. But what is a showrunner? People don't know.
Oh, yeah. So a showrunner basically it's kind of like their baby. It is their overall vision. They most certainly are not always the writers. Like, I didn't write the last season, but I was absolutely a part of the story arcing of it, the story outline of it. The showrunner usually has the last say on what goes in and what goes out. The showrunner is just involved. If you are a good showrunner, you're involved in the editor meetings, the production meetings, the casting, the picking of the DP, the signing off on what kind of lighting you use, what kind of locations you go and find, and stuff like that. That is really, the showrunner is the one that is overwatching, kind of like the man in chair. He's the man in chair of the whole entire show. There are people under him that will help delegate so he doesn't have to do everything, he or she. But that is basically what a showrunner is.
Yeah, it's a tough job, basically control and doing everything. I had Jonathan on the show. He is the showrunner of Van Helsing. And
met Jonathan.
Yeah, he's a cool dude. And it was so great that you were doing the panel there at Comic-Con.
That's a funny story. So Den of Geek got approached by Sci-Fi. And Den of Geek mostly uses me for Comic-Con events and stuff like that because, again, it's easy to just ask me to do it because I like the atmosphere and stuff. So, Den of Geek got approached by Sci-Fi and they're like, hey, is anybody on the team wanting to host a Van Helsing panel? And Den of Geek was like, you know what? Call Victoria, see if she'll do it. And they called me, they called me up and asked me. And I was like, yeah, I haven't seen the show, but yeah, somebody send me links and I binged it. I binged the entire, at the time, I've done the Van Helsing panel for 2 years now. So at the time I binged the first 2 seasons. So I was ready to go. I had looking at it from a journalistic point of view. I was like, okay, what kind of questions do they think they want me to ask? I was kind of taking down notes as I was watching the show, and I'm still enjoying it as well. Really great actors and really great fight scenes and special effects and stuff. And Alex Ponovic is one of my favorite characters on the show, and it's hilarious because the team was really like a family. When I met them right before we went on stage for the first year, the showrunner, who at the time was Neil Labute, was like, yeah, just mispronounce his name. He'll love it. I was like, no, I don't want to do that to him. But apparently, he's a...
Who told you that? Alex told you to do that?
No. Alex doesn't want his name ever to be mispronounced, but the showrunner Neil Labute said, hey, just mispronounce his name. It's fine. I was like, no, I'm not going to do that. And then, ironically, Jonathan, who is the new showrunner, told me the same thing this year. He's like, yeah, just mispronounce Alex's name. It'll be fine.
They have a shtick going on, those guys. Yeah. You should hear some of the stories. I've had Alex on the show twice, and they always do these practical jokes, but they always mess with Alex. They actually call him sometimes, and they tell him, hey, you're going to be off the next episode. So he told me some of those stories. So that's funny that you brought that up. That's so funny.
Yeah, it's always great to hear that the cast members, and it's not always the case, and I won't mention shows that are not like that, but it's always nice to see that the cast themselves are very friendly and there's a family aspect to them, and the showrunners are equally excited to see them. The showrunners are close to, and the producers and the marketing team are kind of close to the cast, and I've had that experience twice now with Van Helsing, and it's really great. It's really awesome.
So from that experience watching Van Helsing, and you probably work with other shows as well because you work with Den of Geek for a bit, have you learned a lot, and have you taken that kind of education towards your own show that you're the showrunner for and creator?
Yeah, actually, that's a really great question. I really have learned. I've learned more about the PR side of how a show handles interviews and stuff like that. I had never done a red carpet before, and thanks to Den of Geek, who are lovely, lovely people, I've experienced the red carpet, and I've grown kind of attached to to personal interviews over red carpet interviews, because I see the creatives wanting to expand and talk about their passion, but they kind of can't in a red carpet event because everything's time sensitive, and there's maybe 1 or 2 questions you can ask the creators, and it's good for me to put in the back of my head of oh, okay, this is good to know that this is the restrictions you have when you're in a red carpet versus a sit down versus a quick Instagram story. These creators and these actors actually have to be trained in a way to deal with the different PR aspects of just going to Comic-Con, because they have to do so many different types of interviews. And they have to basically be trained on how to market the show either in 1 sentence or in 5 to 10 sentences. And it's great.
Sometimes when it is the red carpet versus a personal thing, it's just quick, and you can't really get to ask as much as you want, and it's just time sensitive, and sometimes they're not answering it correctly. They're just giving you an answer that they probably rehearsed or had a set up ahead of time, and they're probably repeating that answer 100 times. You're also a founding member of a crew called the Orphans.
Oh, yeah.
What do you guys do as the Orphans?
So the Orphans Productions is a smaller company of actors that did the same thing I did with ADULTish, which is hey, we're not getting the work we want. How about we create our own material now. Now, most of the stuff we've done has been little small YouTube shorts. I did, speaking of my brand right now, I did a bunch of music video comic book parodies of different, I did a Suicide Squad music video. I filmed 3 Star Wars ones, And I did a Game of Thrones music video. I haven't done one in a while. I should get back to that. And then I did a music video that was a companion piece to the last season of ADULTish. So basically the Orphans we're expanding more as we get more exposure and we learn how to be a production house ourselves. We're expanding on different ideas. We have a LA branch out there that did a very art house, black and white, silent movie that got into a festival down in Mexico that they're going to. And it's completely different than what ADULTish is. And it's great. So we're really growing and developing that still.
So does it take a lot of work to do these parodies? Do you have to spend a lot of money, or it's just a bunch of friends pitching in? Is it like a big production? How does that work?
Oh, it depends. So if you look at the Star Wars Rogue One music video, that had a budget, and that was a combination of me calling in favors and getting discounts and finding a DP that already had a camera with them, so you didn't have to rent a camera. And, we got people from the 501st Division to come in, and do the Darth Vader and Stormtroopers. And we got, we rented out some lights, and that did cost money. And you have to, of course, feed the crew. But most of them are just passionate nerds that are like, yeah, this sounds like fun, I'll do it. Versus, let's see, the Game of Thrones music video, which is very simplistic and cost very little money. It was just like, hey, guys, I'm going to do this. Who wants to do it with me? And they're like, yeah, me. I'll do it. So
did he bring in any money, or do you make any money out of these, or is it more of like a passion project?
So technically, legally, you can't make money out of those music videos, which is probably why I stopped doing them, because they're parodies, and they're not properties I own. But it was more just like, hey, I wanted to do an artistic expression of my fandom versus my musical theater training, and kind of bring that together to just kind of get exposure and stuff like that. And they're produced pretty well for somebody that was like, hey, I'm an actor. Let's do this. Sure, that looks good. Do that.
Have you ever gotten
nice practice.
Have you ever gotten any pushback from any of these brands saying, hey, why did you do this without our permission?
Nope.
Oh, that's cool.
The way you get around that is to title it a parody. If it's a parody and it's on YouTube, you're protected. You won't get any pushback. If anything, if anybody watches it, it just kind of helps their brand.
There was a couple of dudes, they made this whole movie based around characters owned by Warner Brothers. And they said as long as you don't make $1 from it or show the dollar that you made, wink, wink, they don't bother you. So maybe you can do Warner Brothers stuff because they're okay with you taking their actual characters, making a movie.
Yeah. Well, actually, speaking of that, Galaxy, another podcast I'm a part of, which is brand new, it's called the Rebel and the Rogue podcast. It's a Star Wars podcast, and we interviewed some fan film directors and stuff like that have gotten a lot of hits. And my co-pilot, who I call my co-pilot, Jason Tobias, he also made 2 Star Wars fan films, and it's like Star Wars Generations, and the other one I forgot, and he's going to kill me. But if you go to the podcast, he tells you what it is. It's on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, brand new, Rebel and the Rogue podcast. That podcast is produced actually by a guy named Mark A. Altman, and he's created by the new CW show Pandora. And on that podcast, we have talked to a lot of Star Wars creatives that have made fan films, that have done it. Like, they're filmmakers themselves. They make money off of doing special effects or monster building, and they love Star Wars so much that they're willing to grab their tribe of Star Wars fans and be like, hey guys, you want to just go out to the desert one day and just shoot a story about a monster and Jabba the Hutt? Let's do that. And they're like, yeah, let's do it. And that's what they do.
And it works out. And it's fun.
It works out.
And they spend their day and they get to live in that moment of, hey, I created a Star Wars side little flick. That's pretty cool. You could do anything. Yeah, You're basically telling everyone you could do anything you want. You just got to put your mind to it and put some effort and some elbow grease.
Yes. What I always tell people, too, if you don't love it and you're not passionate about it, it's such a pain in the ass to begin with that don't do it to yourself unless you love it.
Absolutely. Oh, yeah. I'm a big toy collector. I was just speaking with Brian Volk-Weiss. He's the creator of the Toys That Made Us. And I was chatting with him, and I told him, hey, I'm a big toy collector. And ever since you created your show, my toy values went up and up. So keep going with this. Doing these things is a big passionate project. And you mentioned it correctly. If you don't love it, then you're not going to do it. And eventually it might become into like a business and you'll make money, but everything starts with the passion and the love. And if you don't love it, don't do it, because sometimes it could be a nightmare, and that love sometimes pushes through the nightmare. Do you think that happens sometimes with some of the things you do?
Oh, yeah. I mean, Terry Fisher said it's the best. Like, take your pain and create art from it. And the art itself is very painful, but it's so rewarding at the end. It's funny. I love Brian Folkwise. He's a friend of Geek, as we call him, and he was also on the Rebel and the Rogue podcast. Did he tell you his lick story?
No.
It's about one of the rarest toys that you can find, and it's
No.
a hilarious story. No, he's great. He will talk for hours, and and again, that's another guy that's very passionate about it. But did he tell you that it took a while for the Toys That Made Us to even get greenlit?
Oh, yeah. It took a while, and he always says, I don't know why I'm doing so good. He's very humble and always like surprised that he's successful now with it. He's like still shocked by it.
Oh, he's such a great guy. He's an inspiration as well. Like, talk about a showrunner that has been told no so many times and still got to see his show about toys come to life. That's an inspiration for us all.
Well, it's a cool show. It's basically a bunch of documentaries created into a TV series, and there's a lot of effort in those. I was part of a couple of documentaries, and you have to interview these people multiple times and go there, and he does it over and over and over. And that's why I do 4 episodes, because imagine how much work goes into it, and then people want more and they'll come back the next season. And now he's creating the movies that made us, which is a new thing. But hey, God bless him on his projects. Got a question. ADULTish.
Yeah.
What is that about?
So, ADULTish is my brainchild. So it is about 3 millennial friends in New York City trying to avoid adulthood by finding success in the pop culture workforce. So my character, Bevin, is a podcaster, a vlogger. Her best friend, Michael, is a podcaster as well. And then their friend Eric is a Williamsburg hippie that owns a cafe by day that turns into a bar at night. And they all love Batman.
And that's ADULTish in a nutshell.
That's ADULTish in a nutshell. There's maybe a random music video here or there, and that's basically it.
So how long has it been going on?
So actually, this is a long story that I'll abbreviate. So ADULTish has technically been rebooted, a soft reboot, I will say, 3 times now. So it was the first season, which if you ever go to adultish.tv, there is an article in like the Learn More and Press section that I wrote and outlined because I wanted to just share my experience with other women. So I contacted this website called Women on Top, and I said, hey, do you mind if I just share to other women what I've learned? And they're like, yeah, write it down and outline as much as you want. And so I just kind of outlined my journey of like the first season I was feeling very depressed and frustrated with my career. I didn't like the audition process in terms of how I was being treated. I felt like I was being looked at as like, oh, she's not thin enough, tall enough, pretty enough, as opposed to like what actually is on paper and what I can do with what was on paper. So I was like, I think I'm going to create a character that I would like to see on screen. And so ADULTish started off as like just an outline of like, okay, so here's this character, and like here's her friends, and here's her other friends, and this is the situation, and there was no script. It was just outlined. There was no script at all. And we did have sound, but we didn't even have like a professional sound guy, and it was just, I called up somebody, and I was like, hey, do you have a camera? Let's shoot something. So the first season of ADULTish is basically, let's just shoot something and see what it looks like. And that's when I learned that, having a script is important for the editing room, because once you get into the editing room, if nothing is consistent, it's hard to edit it. So that's basically season. So I learned. That's season 1.
I feel your pain. I'm listening to you. I'm like, okay, I got to hear everything, because you sound like it was painful the first time around, and then you learned everything.
No, it's not that it was painful. It was that, like, I realized my mistake in the editing room. I was like, oh, this is why they don't let actors improv the scene. Because I was thinking, oh, man, it'd be great if I was, like, the first director that gave actors more freedom to just kind of play. And then I get in the editing room, and I was like, oh, this is why they don't
It's
let
a
actors play.
nightmare. Because those poor editors, they're not there during filming, and they're like, what do I do? Where do I go with this?
What am I doing with this? So the first season's kind of just a lot of just wide shot frames and stuff like that, or it's kind of very choppy because it's like, well, she said this one time, and she never said this again. Great, But no, it wasn't that it was painful. I more just kind of laughed at it because, again, this is where the benefit comes from taking a production class as opposed to just acting. Because, as an actor, we don't know this. I didn't know that. I didn't know that was why it was important for consistency in film. I was like, oh. So and then season 2, I was like, all right, I'll write a script. It'll be fine. So I wrote. First time ever writing a script, co-written by me and the other actor that plays Handsome Eric, Brandon Scott Hughes. So we wrote the second season, and I spent a lot of writing sessions, and it was fun to write for the first time and kind of delve into, again, it was also the first time I spent really thinking about the overall arc of just not my character, but every single character. They all need to have something going on or else they're boring. So that was fun. That's what I learned. And we also kind of got like friends and family to put some money behind it. That way, I could have a sound person on set and maybe some lighting here or there. And so season 2 was just kind of like a step up. It was a step up. And then I was like, okay, cool. Need more crew. Because that was actually the lesson of season 2. It's like, oh, this is why they have so many people behind the camera. This is really hard to do all of this. So that was the second season. The third season, which is the one that actually I felt proud enough to put in web festival circuits, was the one where I went back to my family and friends, like, okay, just give me a little bit more. I think I figured this out now. And the third season, actually, that time is when I hired a writer. I was like, as much as I love writing, I didn't go to school for writing. So let me find someone that actually went to school for writing that actually loves Batman. And so we got a writer named Matthew McLaughlin. And the reason he got hired is he literally, if you go to his Instagram account or Facebook page, he's like, if you don't like Batman, don't bother. I was like, hey,
that's
what
my guy.
Up? I was like, what up? Hey, let's talk. And so he and I wrote this. Well, he did most of the writing, but I basically kind of, again, this is where I became more of a showrunner. And I started just kind of overseeing everything and be like, I really kind of want this thing to be incorporated. I'd like to see this journey happen with the characters, but you make it sound better than what I'm saying.
And he put that cool actual writing edge to it.
Yeah,
a
exactly.
real writer that goes to the editor, and the editor's like, yes, finally.
Finally. Well, he actually told me, he's like, okay, if you want improv sections, it's fine. That's where you just kind of assign those sections. And that way the editor knows that they've been assigned.
You're like, did a light bulb flicker on top of your head? You're like, that's what they do. They section it.
Yeah, usually it's like a setup. It's like, hey, you look like a man with a beak. Or like, hey, you look like you just had too much drink last night. Or, hey, you look like you're wearing mouse ears. What's wrong? Like, that's kind of like where the improv kind of comes in, is that's where the actors can be assigned to, this is where you can play, this is where you can't,
So with that education, are you going to take this to the next step? Are you going to do other things like it?
Yes. So you caught me in a time where I can't really talk about the fourth season, but we are in the process of actually rebranding it, and we've gotten really great, I hired a casting director named Erica Hart, and she's lovely. And she has been reaching out to name talents to get what we call LOIs, letters of intent, from higher name talent influencers, as you will, that are in the comic book world. And we've gotten some names attached. And currently right now what I'm doing to justify another season is we are talking to distribution channels.
Nice. Wow. That's amazing.
Yeah.
That story.
Fingers crossed.
It's cool.
Yeah. No, it's been quite a lovely, I'm very blessed to have this journey, and it keeps going and it keeps developing, just kind of like how Madeline was saying. It's just like, it's very rewarding. It's so much love, and there's the community itself of the cast is like family, just like Madeline was saying. We were tomorrow. It's like, everyone's just kind of in this together, and there's like this spirit of like, hey, we believe in this project, we're going to take this to the next step, we're in it for the long haul and such.
Well, you know what? The cast becomes that way because their leader is that way. Madeline is a very, how do you say, not rare, but a person that has created. Yeah, there you go. And you seem that way too, because look, you started this, you didn't know what was going on, and you learned, and now season 4, you have a casting director, and you have writers, and you have this and that. That's such an amazing journey. You didn't give up. And Madeline, she was first trying to make a movie, and then it became into a TV series, and she did it all. And the way those guys are, it's amazing. I've spent time with them, and I chat with them. I love them. And they're so different. And they all just are cool with each other. There is no like, oh my God, I got to listen to her again, or rolled eyes or any of that.
Yeah.
No, there's no personal agendas. Everybody's free to do what they want. And then when they combo to do their stuff, it's like they're together, bonded. And you seem like that too. You're very well-rounded. You're more than that person that interviews people for Den of Geek. There's so much more to you. You know, you write, create your own show, you sing, you're in plays, you do this, you do that. And it's really cool. You podcast, and you're in New York, and you kick butt and take names later.
Thanks.
And it's
take names later.
Yeah, take names later. Don't take names now. But that's a really cool thing.
Take names as I'm taking them.
Yeah, there you go. And, you know, you have to be an inspiration, because there's a lot of people that are trying to be like you and Madeline and so many other people. And people need to know these things and need to learn. And hopefully Madeline, yourself, everybody else that's doing this can one day share all this with the world, because it was probably a huge education going from where you started to where you're at today. And you probably have so much knowledge of things, and it's really cool that you're sharing it.
Yeah, you learn by doing, and that's why, you know, some people have asked me, do you want to take down like season 1 and 2 now that season 3 looks a lot better? I was like, no. They need to see the hiccups I've made and see that we're all just human. We don't get to see, a lot of times when you look at like Steven Spielberg, you only see the glorified stuff. You don't see how he was learning as he was going. You don't see a film that he made that was terrible ever. Not that season 1 is terrible. I don't want to necessarily say that, but you don't see the growing process of certain filmmakers, and I would like to share my growing process with people.
And that's a very pure thing. Imagine if there was social media during Spielberg's educational phase. It would have been cool to see. Is there anything else you're working on other than these other 50 million things?
Oh, yeah. So I'm working 50 million things. So coming up, it's not going to be released as of yet, but in the next week, I also I just partner with really badass people in general. I partnered with another woman named Jordan Elizabeth Gelber, and she has a network called Star Baby Enterprises, and she just got her first Roku channel. And her goal with that, being an actor and producer and a marketing PR person, let's tick off the titles that she does as well. She wants her channel to be a place where people like Madeline and myself can put their shows as a stepping stone kind of platform. And then what she wants to do is take those shows and help elevate them to the next level, because she also wants to see fellow creatives get to that next Hulu, Amazon, Netflix kind of platform. And so that's going to be the goal of the channel.
Wow. And you're so lucky. You're at this time right now where there is a Netflix and an Amazon and a Hulu that is willing to look at new shows and new experiences and put them on to the masses. That must be such a good feeling as well.
Oh, yeah. I mean, God bless the internet in general. Like, I think the fact that even back like a couple of years ago when we didn't have necessarily an Amazon Prime or Hulu, I think we had Netflix then. I don't know. The years bleed in for me now, Galaxy. They do. They do. They bleed in. I don't remember what year it is. I think if I didn't have an outlet to express my frustration like YouTube, like social media, to just be like, all right, sure, I'm not on Netflix right now, but guess where I can put myself? I can put myself on YouTube. I can put myself on Instagram. let's just go for it.
Let's just
I
squeeze
think,
everywhere.
yeah, another great, oh, sorry, I wanted you to finish your sentence.
No, go ahead. Go ahead. Your
Another
sentence is better than mine.
That is not true, Galaxy. That is not true. No, you guys are so great. I was about to say another influence is Felicia Day. Felicia Day was also somebody that was an actress that wasn't getting what she wanted. She created the Guild, and she put that on YouTube, and it was a web series about gamers. And how often do you see a female gamer? I mean, back then you hardly saw a show about a female that loved gaming. And it got more attention, and then soon PlayStation sponsored her. I believe it was PlayStation or Sony. Not Sony. It's not Sony. It's definitely PlayStation or Microsoft. And then, she got more attention, and then she got more jobs out of it, and now she has her own website about fandom, Geek and Sundry, I believe it is, and she's developing more projects now.
Oh yeah, she's doing great. She has books and
books. She's on the new Mystery Science Theater, which I love Mystery Science Theater.
Oh yeah, and she has a web series called Dragon Age and all sorts of stuff. You know what? You gotta take something you have, which is some talent, and you just gotta see where it goes. And with all the opportunities, I love this episode because I bet you people are going to be taking notes, and they're going to be like, okay, what did I learn today? I love episodes like this because sometimes I chat with people and they're just like, I'm cool, and I do art, and I do this, and I do that. But you're like, hey, I did this, but I learned that. And here's this, and here's this person, their inspiration, and she's an inspiration, and he's an inspiration. That's really cool. And you love cosplay as well, right?
I don't cosplay myself, but I am friends with a lot of cosplayers. I mean, I'm sure you can agree with me on this, Galaxy. Comic-Con is probably one of the best, most happiest places on earth to just meet people that are so open and willing to talk to you about their passion, their fandom, whether they be cosplayers or vendors. Like, I love this group called What's Your Passion Jewelry. They make fine sterling silver Marvel jewelry. And they're expanding as well because they're jewelers that are just passionate about their fandom. They're like, you know what? I'm going to make jewelry about my fandom. And people just are drawn to that. They're like, wow, that's so cool.
Yeah, there's so many opportunities with this universe. There's a gentleman, he just created a book, and it's basically teaching people how to take the fandom that they love and to create a business out of it, because there's so many opportunities. The Comic-Con universe, everybody's a fan, but there's so many business opportunities, and if people come forward and teach people, I think it would grow even bigger and bigger than it is right now. Yeah, no, I mean, it's amazing. I mean, one of the nicest people ever that is like on a celebrity style is Ming Chen, who I podcast with, and he and Mike from their comic book men fandom created what they call the Shared Universe Podcast Studio, where they welcome any and all podcasters that are in the area to come and podcast in their studios, and they help them and educate them. And they're like, here, we'll do Facebook live streaming. We'll do Facebook watch parties for you guys. We'll give you shout outs. And I just really have to love people that take their passion for comic books, for podcasting, for art, and they want to just help and educate other people that are like, oh, that's so great, you podcast. How can I do that? And they're like, hey, we'll help you. That's pretty cool. Not a lot of people do that. Yeah. There's not a lot of people like that, especially in LA. There's not a lot of people like that. No, there's a lot of cool people here. I'm sorry. Don't hate me, please. I'm just kidding. I'm just trying to make the show better. That's all. But you're from New York, right? New Yorkers are allowed to hate on LA just a little bit. I don't want to get clubbed in back of the head and when I'm at a Comic-Con and I'm lying on the ground and I'm looking up and I see, just people with costumes and they're like, hey, what did you say? LA is not cool. What'd you say about LA people? They don't help? No, you guys help. Everybody's lovely. Excuse me, sorry. Anyways, so I heard that you go to like different places and you sing as well. I haven't done that in a while. It's definitely on my list to eventually do that again. But yeah, I've sung in New York at the Duplex, and I sang at 54 Below, which is a lovely little studio. And I used to sing jazz. I haven't in a while. But hey, it'll happen again one day. It is definitely on my dossier. if people want to get a hold of you, they want to follow you, where do they go?
Oh, okay. So easiest place probably right now is Instagram. You can go to @Bevin, Why Not Now, and that's Bevin, the letter Y, not now. And then you can find me on Facebook. You can actually follow ADULTish as well. If you go to adultish.tv, you can learn all about the web series, and that's where you can find me.
And why did they call you Bevin?
Oh, I named myself Bevin. So do you want to hear the Den of Geek reason why I'm Bevin, or why I'm called Bevin in the show?
Well, you combined your names or something?
I did. If you look at Bevin, it's the first two letters of my last name and the first two letters of my first name, and then an N at the end of it.
Look at that. You're creating everywhere. You're like combining your names. And your web series is a SAG Web Series. Remember that, guys. SAG.
Yes.
These are not just actors from the corner of 42nd Street. These are like SAG,
Yes.
And 42nd Street's probably nice now, huh, in New York. But back in the 80s, that was like the hooker capital.
Oh, yeah. And then Disney came in and was like, nope, this is not happening. No, Times Square nowadays is like a combination between like Las Vegas and Disney World. Like there's so many mascots running around trying to get photos from you, and then there's flyers being trying to hand it to you, and it's crazy.
Oh, in the
crazy
80s it was
Times Square
different.
looks like.
We used to sneak out from school, go to Manhattan. We would go to 42nd Street, and every time you stop at a light, you get like bum rush. So that was my little joke about 42nd Street. So if you're old enough, you got it. If not, sorry, youngsters out there.
Yeah.
But so Bevin, that's a cool name. I would never come up with that. I would never, if I took Victoria Bennett and squeezed it together and made orange juice, I would never. But that's your creativity.
Yeah, it's also, I looked it up, it's also an Irish name that means Lady of Song. And I was like, well, I guess it's fate.
Well, hey, you named yourself appropriately because you're all of the above. So if they want to get a hold of you, they go to Bevin, and that's spelled BEVINYNOTNOW. I don't know the rest of it, but I'm just saying Bevin. How do you say that? Bevin.
It's a mantra. Why not now?
Oh, nice.
Why not do it now?
Why not now, and why not ever? Well, that's an amazing way to live, Bennett. Keep inspiring, keep writing, keep creating, keep doing what you do. I would love to have you back on the show once you can tell us more about your next season and the things you're going, because I feel that season 5 and 6 of ADULTish is even going to be more creative and larger than life. So as you grow that and hit season 10, you never know where it might take you.
Hit the Family Guy,
That's it.
level of seasons.
Hey,
you never know.
You never know. You're the creator. It's in your hands, right?
Yeah, it definitely is. And as long as they're willing to make it with me, we'll be like Supernatural. We'll just keep going until they tell us we can't anymore.
Yeah, just keep going until people are like, okay, I get it. I get it.
You're fine. Don't do any more music videos. Sit down.
Well, you know what? You've been very lovely. And
thank you,
Thank
Galaxy.
you for coming on. And, I hope to see you around. Hopefully, you're going to be at New York Comic Con?
Oh, yeah. I will be there with Den of Geek.
Oh, yeah.
I will be running around. I love New York Comic Con, though. I mean, I love San Diego, but I have a special place in my heart for New York Comic Con.
It's very different, and it's amazing, and it's an experience to be part of.
Oh, absolutely. You're going to be there too, right, Galaxy?
Yeah, I'll be there. We'll be there. We'll do New York Comic Con in style. And with that said, Bevin, it's time to roll out from another amazing episode of Comic Con Radio. And we got to say good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. This is your boy Galaxy with the amazing Victoria Bennett. Please follow her on social media. Follow her show ADULTish. Follow her writing, her stuff on Den of Geek. Watch her, support her, love her. She's doing amazing.
Aww.
She's a creator. She's influencing others. And one day she'll be back on the show. And with that said, we're going to blow a million kisses. You ready, Victoria?
Right.
3,
Yep.
2, 1, mwah.
Mwah, mwah.
Yeah, you did it. See, some people are so cool. They don't even blow kisses. They just giggle their way through that. But you actually gave kisses. So that's cool. So everybody take Victoria or Bevin's kisses and put in your pocket and take them out when you're watching ADULTish.
Woo!
Woohoo!
Yeah.
And with that said, peace.
All right.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. This is Galaxy signing out from another amazing episode of Comic-Con Radio. Tune in for your daily shows of Comic-Con Radio. Go to comiccon-radio.com. Reach us on social media. Instagram at Comic-Con Radio. Comic-Con Radio, taking the world one listener at a time.
I got it. I'm cool. I'm hip.